House of the Dragon kicked off the third season with a bang, showcasing one of the largest naval battles in the history of Westeros. Critics are shouting from the rooftops that the series has redeemed itself and are giving it sky-high ratings. So let's not waste any time and over the next few minutes discuss what really worked, what Easter eggs the creators have left, and just how much the battle differs from its depiction in the book. Let's start with the fact that the changes are immediately noticeable from the very first seconds. The opening credits have had their arrangement changed, now sounding much more like a military march. Ramin Djawadi has re-recorded the main theme so that it immediately creates the feeling of a real war with all that entails. After all, that's exactly what this spin-off was set up for, and that's precisely what we were promised from the very beginning. The animated tapestry in the opening sequence has also changed slightly, as its threads are now filled with blood. This is also a kind of symbolism, as more and more Targaryens perish with each new episode. The very title of the episode, Salt Sea, Fire and Blood, directly refers to the name of the original source and the battle in the Narrow Sea. The naval battle at the Gullet is infamous, not only for being the largest sea clash with heavy losses, but also for the fate of Jason Vermax, which largely determined subsequent events. The episode opens with Sheepstealer, who lives up to his nickname by eating a sheep. Rhaena found him back at the end of the second season, so we are promptly shown the taming process. At the same time, he is still a wild dragon, which means his behaviour was generally predictable. He grew up in the wild and didn't have time to bond with a rider before reaching adulthood, so he doesn't get along with domesticated dragons and sees them as a threat. Because of this, he attacked Baela's Moondancer closer to the end of the episode. And overall, Vermithor's fall is linked to the actions of the Sheepstealer, because Jace was distracted by him and missed the shot. At the same time, it should be noted that in the book, Rhaena was not his rider. He was ridden by the peasant girl Nettles, who was conveniently cut from the series. And at the Battle of the Gullet, Vermithor, Silverwing and Seasmoke also took part. However, in the series, they're on a mission from Rhaenyra to capture Aemond. Interestingly, Rhaena speaks to Sheepstealer in High Valyrian, as all Targaryens do with their dragons. This is part of an ancient family tradition, according to which their ancestors taught all dragons to understand their language. Apparently, this skill does not depend on the environment in which they are raised, but is passed on to all dragons from birth. At the same time, the Targaryens' pets do not grasp the meaning of what is said, but they pick up on emotions and respond to them. For example, Sheepstealer understood that he needed to burn the ships, but did so indiscriminately, burning both friend and foe alike. As in the book, the battle at the Gullet was marred for the Blacks by the death of Jacaerys along with Vermax. The only difference is in the details, as the series made it more cinematic. The original source says that there are different versions of how it happened. Some claim that he flew too low and was caught by a boarding hook, while others say he was hit by a scorpion bolt. But in any case, the dragon crashed into the sea, and Jace, who surfaced, was shot with crossbows. After his death, Rhaenyra was left with 3 children alive. These are Joffrey's son and 2 children by Daemon. Jace's death itself will hit the Queen hard and make her more determined, although the Blacks still suffered a significant loss. Returning to the Battle of the Gullet, according to the book, Corlys's treasures were also burned, so the series didn't invent any clever maneuver here. We'll have to deal with the material consequences in the second episode, but to get slightly ahead of ourselves, it can be said that these were dozens of ships. The Triarchy lost more than 60 ships, while the Valyrian fleet lost about a third. What seemed like an easy victory for the Blacks, given the presence of several Daggons, ultimately turned into a terrible loss. Corlys's fate wasn't fully revealed in the first episode, so we'll avoid spoilers here. Although, if you watched the trailers closely, or saw our trailer breakdowns, you already know what happened to him. By the way, in one of the shots we were shown his updated ship. It used to be called the Sea Snake, but after Rhaenys' death it was renamed and is now called the Queen Who Never Was. This refers to the nickname of his wife, who was supposed to sit on the Iron Throne, but for various reasons it never happened. On the ship, we see her image in armour holding a crown in her hands. There's another interesting reference to Corlys's famous 9 voyages. When he takes out a bottle of drink to offer Alyn, he says he saved it from Hib. That's an island located in the Shivering Sea, north of Essos. It's interesting because dragon bones are found all over the island, which confirms that they lived not only in ancient Valyria. That's where the drink gets its name, dragon water. They say giants still live there, but in this case, the island is nothing more than a nod to Corlys's sea adventures, which we might see one day. There's a funny detail in the first scene with Daemon when he's discussing what to do with the bodies of the fallen warriors. The natives of the Riverlands insist that they must be buried, because that's their custom. The Targaryens, on the other hand, burn their dead, and while Daemon suggests this, Caraxes is already busy burning the bodies and eating them. Immediately after this, the direwolves appear on the scene, led by Roderick Dustin. According to the original source, this is a unit of elderly warriors whom Cregan Stark sent to help Rhaenyra. And the series really does show sturdy older men, which matches the book's description. Even the first line Roderick speaks, that they've come to die for the Dragon Queen, is taken straight from the book. We may not have seen them in battle, but they've already presented Daemon with a head of a Lannister, which means they've got plenty of strength. Another interesting detail concerns Aegon, who is still on the run. When he's travelling with Larys and they're discussing the current state of affairs, the king mentions crow droppings on the throne. Besides describing his state at that moment, since they're literally surrounded by crows, it could also be a hint at the future of the throne. The Bloodraven has already appeared in Daemon's visions in the second season. He was also mentioned by Dunk in The Hedge Knight. The Three-Eyed Raven is also indirectly referenced in the plot when Corlys asks Alan to send a raven to the Night's Watch to summon the dragons for help when they spot the Triarch's fleet. At the same time, we know that half of the riders are currently lying in ambush waiting for Aemond. However, they still receive the message because Alys Rivers tells them to go to Dragonstone. Thus, the scriptwriters casually drop several Easter eggs about Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven. The crown, which in the same scene Larys presents as proof before the soldiers, is made of Valyrian steel and once belonged to Aegon the Conqueror himself. His theft explains why Aemond, sitting on the throne and holding the ancestral sword Blackfire, was without a crown. He simply couldn't find him. Larys himself once again proves to be a skillful manipulator, as he managed to save both Aegon's life and his own. So I had to call him a traitor, since it's still unclear whom he truly serves, apart from himself. Interestingly, the episode builds its plot around the plan devised by Rhaenyra and Alicent at the end of the second season. This is an innovation created for the series, as the former friends never met again after the war began. For the sake of spectacle and drama, it all feels organic, since Alicent had no idea about Aegon's escape or Aemond's decision to stay in King's Landing. Because of this, the agreements with Rhaenyra are falling apart before her eyes, so she tries to redeem herself somehow and sends the new King Regent to Harrenhal. On top of that, she forges his signature to delay Ormond Hightower's troops, which she ultimately manages to do. As for the strange kiss that happened between Alicent and Aemond, this is not a repeat of the odd romantic customs typical of the franchise. Of course, among the Targaryens, this is nothing new, at least when it happens within the family, but in this case, the reason is different. According to the actor who played Aemond, this scene shows us that his character's broken, that he doesn't know what love is or how to express it, which is why he shows it in such a strange way. Alicent, sensing this, does not pull away from her son. In any case, there won't be any further development of this sort, so let's all breathe out and move on. The strange horned man who appears for a moment in one of the shots has already been seen in the series. In the second season, we saw him during Daemon's stay at Harrenhal. The bastard dragon riders are not far from the castle, near the God's Eye. An ancient order of green men also dwells there, who are either people or children of the forest, or perhaps something else entirely. Old Nan, who used to tell stories to Bran Stark, said that they have horns, leaves growing from their heads, and their skin is completely green. Moreover, in the second season, they appear together with the Three-Eyed Raven, so now they are shown because they accompany Alys Rivers. As for my overall impressions of the first episode, it really turned out to be epic. Even though the book describes more dragons taking part in the battle at the Gullet, the fight was still spectacular. Plot changes are also noticeable, but the overall storyline remains the same, because Jace has died and Rhaenyra is determined to seize King's Landing. The critics have already reviewed not only the first episode, but the next 3 as well. Almost everyone notes that the pace of the narrative has picked up, and the dialogues are evenly interspersed with battle scenes. No wonder the series currently has a 90% freshness rating. In the meantime, be sure to share your impressions of the start of the season in the comments. Has House of the Dragon managed to redeem itself after the sluggish second season, or is there still something missing from the show? That's all for today, friends. We'll see you in new videos very soon.